And right now we have a fitness coach, BG.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for showing. So guys, my name is BJ. I'm a fitness coach from Melbourne, Australia. I'd just like to be completely honest and transparent with you that we start in one phase in our life and we progress even further into greater things and we move onward and upward. So guys, can I get a show of hands who thinks eating donuts is bad for you? What if I were to tell you you could eat whatever you want? That's right. No fad diets, no tasteless food plans. You could eat donuts. You can eat pizza. You can eat ice cream. You can eat all the delicacies in the world and still maintain a top physique. You think I'm mad? I'm living and breathing this right now. I am living, breathing proof. But there's a catch. You need to put in the work. Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So, donuts in fact in moderation, according to scientific literature, is actually quite good for you. There are these hormones in us called satiety hormones. We have leptin and ghrelin. Leptin is a hormone that will actually make us feel better when we eat shit food. Have you ever been in that moment where you've had a big night out and you're like, fuck, I'm craving a burger or a gyros or something? Ooh. Exactly. Ben & Jerry's, Netflix and chill, it's all good. So, balance is something that I really agree in, because what happens when we go through starvation process is we increase our cortisol. Now cortisol is what they call a catabolic hormone that will break down your lean muscle. So if you're in too much of a starvation mode, you actually suffer loss of gains. Wow. So guys, I am also in the community, as you know, loosely with Social Prime. Not just a fitness coach. As you can see here, this is me going out when I first started. Look at those chicken wings. But I want to get a show of hands right now if any of this resonates with you. Do you spend late nights out? Come on guys, let's get vocal. Do you not eat correctly? Do you drink a shit ton of alcohol to forget about your problems? As a consequence, you get dehydrated. This leads to stomach issues. Stomach issues are one of the leading causes of your mindset changes, which I'll talk to you more about later. Do you get enough sleep? No. Not only do you get enough sleep, do you get enough quality sleep? There's a big difference. Can you get it up?
Hell yeah. That's fine.
Depends on the girls.
Good one, Florian. And I really want to delve a lot into neurology because it's a very, very important thing that not a lot of people know about. One of my favorite quotes is by this man. Does anyone know who he is? Greek mythology, Mr. Chris. So, it pretty much talks about not living up to our potential. One of my biggest fears in life is not reaching my full potential. I'm actually afraid of mediocrity. I seek out uncomfortable positions because I want to grow, I want to expand, I want to connect with more people. I don't want to go to my deathbed and be full of regrets. So whilst people might not think fitness is everything, it can lead you to pretty awesome situations. And what I really want to hone in on today are these key things to live a healthier life. What does that mean? It's subjective to everyone. What is health? Why do you need it? Do you want to live on this planet? What's that saying by Kurt Cobain? It's better to burn out than it is to fade away. But you get the picture. So, being involved with a few mentors of mine, he explained to me this thing, which really changed the dynamic of how I saw relationships, love, wealth, and even health. So we all have an open area that everyone knows, like our Facebook profiles, our Instagrams, whatever. It's an open forum, people see it. Then we have blind areas, blind spots. We don't see it, but other people do. And this is what I like to call mentorship. Mentors actually notice stuff in you, they see potential in you that you didn't actually realize you see in yourself. We have hidden areas, which is where people don't know anything about you and you don't know it yourself. And then finally, we have the unknown. So what I want to focus on today with everyone is creating more of an open area where we can start a dialogue, we can start a narrative of openness, trustworthiness, come together as a unity. I mean, I've traveled halfway around the world to build a community full of like-minded people who want to crush life. What brought you here today? What was your intention?
To learn.
To learn. Exactly. So, let's talk more about when we experience these blind areas. Can I get a show of hands who has a mentor here? Exactly. The people who put their hand up goes back to the Socrates quote that we know nothing. And the brilliance about not knowing anything is that you can continuously grow. So, can I get a show of hands for people who read here? Awesome. Love it. Reading. This generation of readers is next generation of writers. I'm a firm believer in self-development, but using it to your advantage and not just using it as an excuse not to take action. There's a difference. A pile of money has never fallen on someone's head from meditating. So, this man, Eckhart Tolle, was one of my inspirations in life. He gave me perspective on seeing things in the moment as they were. I find a lot of people are dwelling on the past or something that's happened that's caused them grief. And they develop this thing, according to Eckhart Tolle, called the pain body, the suffering mechanism. So, a lot of people get into this community for a lot of reasons. And my biggest reason was to get the best body, to get the best quality women that I'm actually proud of having in my life, and to create like fruitful relationships full of connection and love. But things aren't always linear. They're quite convoluted and turbulent. So there are techniques that we can use, such as affirmations and autosuggestion. Who's read Think and Grow Rich here by Napoleon Hill? Fucking awesome.
What's the name?
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. There's no better knowledge than dead man's words. They leave breadcrumbs behind for us to feed off. So, what I want to share with you right now are 5 philosophies that I really live by. The first is become present and focused in the moment. That's about being present, showing up as you are, being truthful, being honest about how you're feeling in the moment. Second is being uncomfortable with being comfortable. Sorry, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm sure you've heard of Jordan Peterson, and Alex Dickinson lightly touched on it. Lobsters? Yeah. So according to Jordan Peterson, we actually have the same neurological system as a lobster. So what actually happens is, when it's time for a lobster to shed its shell, it will then feel tension and adversity. And the reason why it sheds its shell is to create a stronger shell which can protect it from predators. So it comes back to really kind of expanding and growing. Do you guys honestly enjoy going up to girls and talking to them?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Be honest.
Not always.
Okay. Look, it's very uncomfortable. But if you love it and you enjoy it and you're passionate about meeting the true soulmate or love of your life, then it all makes it worthwhile. You could be sitting at home in your parents' basement masturbating to midget porn, or you could be taking action and meeting the girl of your dreams. The choices are yours. Do you have hunger? There are a lot of people in this world who use excuses. They name, they blame, they shame. But then there's those who shut the fuck up and get to work. They know what true grit is. They know what hard work is without apologies. And these are the ones who make it a moral obligation to change the way they see the world and others. Big one, number 5. Your greatest resource is your own resourcefulness. We've all come into this world with nothing, and we sure as hell will die with nothing. You can look up to mentors, you can be inspired by them, but you've always got to come back to yourself. You've always got to remember that unless you're not backing yourself, you're playing a loser's game. Now, this is something that I actually do with most of my clients. It's a very, very powerful thing. Most of what you have in life right now is a direct correlation of the action that you've taken. A lot of people seem to think that they're not emotional and that most of their decisions aren't based on emotion, they're very logical. I argue that the feeling of certainty is actually an emotion. And it's kind of ironic in a sense, because we have 2 types of decisions we make. The decisions we make and the actions that we make after the decisions and the results we get. So I'm going to give this a bit of context. Let's say, for example, you want to get involved with resistance training and lifting weights. You're feeling pretty optimistic. You're really excited. You see, all these guys and all these girls with abs, and they're like looking all shredded and shiny, and you want to look like that. So you have this belief of, I can get there. I believe I can. I have the genetics. I have the resources. I back myself. That belief will then lead to an emotion of certainty, belief, love, excitement, overwhelm. Those emotions will then lead to a decision. Let's get up at 6 a.m. and do some fasted cardio. Let's drive out to an area and let's do a hike and see some crazy shit. Those decisions will then lead to you taking action, executing on the form, executing on the exercises, understanding the training principles, picking up that textbook and learning about what nutrition is. And then, as a consequence, that action will lead to a result. You'll start looking at yourself in the mirror. You'll start to see gradual changes. The way you feel, people will start complimenting you. Your blind spots will then become open spots. Now let's look at that juxtaposed with the pessimist. Their belief is, I can't get a good body. I don't believe I can. My genetics are shit. I've been left with not enough money. Whatever excuse you conjure. That will lead to an emotion of fear, anxiety, tension, overwhelm. This will lead you to then sitting inside, snoozing your alarm when you have an obligation to go train. Watching another episode of Netflix. Choosing to ignore your training partner's text messages. These decisions will then lead you to an action. And this action will lead to a result. You'll look like shit, you'll feel like shit, and so the cycle continues. These beliefs are then reinforced. And over time, we get frustrated. The leading cause of death in this world, the mortality, is people not taking ownership of their fitness. Obesity is linked with heart disease and illnesses. And I don't want to go grim on you guys, but this is true. Look at the studies. So, stress. What is it? Is it good? Is it bad? What do we know about stress, guys?
It's bad.
It's not. It's good.
Okay. So there's 3 different kinds of stress. First, you have your alarm phase, which is like someone's kicked you in the shin at a nightclub or something, and you're kind of pissed. Then you've got resistance, which is what happens, you put yourself into a systemic inflammation, as they call it, which is a fight or flight mechanism. So you have a lot of adrenaline, and staying in this phase for too long will actually lead you to exhaustion, right? But we actually need stress. It's actually healthy. It actually motivates us to want to do shit. Because without it, it's kind of like yin and yang. You need both. You can't have one without the other. Coming from a medical background in osteopathy, this was on one of my lecture notes. I thought it'd be quite interesting to share with you how everything kind of comes full circle. How every facet of life, from mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being, ties in with exactly this: exercise, movement, sleep, relaxation, nutrition and hydration, stress, and even your relationships. It's quite interesting. So what type of stresses are there in life? Physical, emotional, psychological, resting, digesting. Why do you guys care? Well, there's actually a study done with, I think it was a Harvard University lecturer, and she got up and she said, there's a group of people who actually think stress, it doesn't mean shit, and they use the stress to like work 40-hour weeks or even 80-hour weeks, and they accomplish a shit ton of things. Whereas then you have the opposite control group that don't think stress is, they actually do think stress is bad for them, and they only work like pretty average hours casually. And guess who actually was 30% more likely to die? It was the neurotic people, the people who invested a lot of their own emotional energy into thinking that this shit is bad. So they say that ignorance is bliss. In this instance, it is. Okay, so what I really want to touch on now is digestion. It's actually proven that the foods that you consume actually change your biochemistry in your body and your stomach. In your stomach is actually linked to your neurotransmitters in your brain. So when you eat specific type of foods, for example, foods full of trans fats, like fast food outlets, and high cholesterol based foods, it actually changes what they call the microbiome or the gut flora, which then increases your chances of developing Crohn's disease and IBS. Funny story, I actually had food poisoning when I was in Budapest, and I can tell you right now, it's no fun. So it comes back to sleep. We have this thing called a circadian rhythm. And circadian rhythm is actually a thing that will spike our adrenaline in the morning when we need to wake up. And then as we get to sleepy time, it decreases our adrenaline and our cortisol goes up. So we actually need these balances of hormones in us to assist our stomach pass food and also balance out our neurotransmitters in the brain. I'm not sure if you've heard of the big four: serotonin, dopamine, GABA, acetylcholine. Really, really important stuff for your own mental health. So what do you guys think in terms of how training is linked in with what I'm talking about? I know I haven't touched much on actually lifting weights, but do you guys see the relevance here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, question?
Oh no, to answer your question, because if you're training, you put stress on your body, then it can recover afterwards and grow stronger because your body.
So as mentioned before, with the 3 stages of stress, we have the alarm phase. The alarm phase is I used getting kicked in the shin in a nightclub. That's pretty much the same as lifting weights. It's a healthy stress, but obviously getting kicked in the shin is not healthy. But it's the same sort of hormonal release. Yeah. Any other questions? Cool. So what do you guys think of intermittent fasting?
Cool shit.
What is that?
So intermittent fasting is just a fancy way of saying you're taking a break from eating.
What?
All right, cool. All right, what's everyone's opinion on coffee?
No. Not good. The best.
I don't know what to do.
We love it.
So we have haters for coffee or lovers?
Haters.
Who actually can't function without coffee? They build up such a tolerance that they can't actually wake up. They feel groggy, they feel lousy, they need it, they're dependent on it.
Addiction.
Okay, so I'm going to share with you another form of substance that has a similar chemical profile to coffee without the grogginess and the side effects, but we'll get to that a bit later. Cool. All right, now we're going full kind of scientist again. So who has a background in physiology and anatomy? And yeah, sweet, awesome. All right, so I'm sure you guys are aware of what the vagus nerve is. It's the 10th cranial nerve, which actually helps us with motivation. It's been linked in with intrinsic motivation and self-actualization and stuff like that. Pretty cool stuff if you can actually take ownership and leverage it. So meditation, who here meditates? That's what I like to see. Meditation, controlling your breathing. I know social prime with their time travel, do a lot of guided meditation. Really, really good to help get you out of what they call systemic inflammation or sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. A lot of our logic and conscious thoughts are linked with that part. So a way of putting us into a parasympathetic is to actually meditate. So we go through this thing called rest and digest, and we calm ourselves down so we can actually hear the thoughts that are going on subconsciously. And we can really focus on those, like that internal dialogue, that narrative that's being played on and on and on. And we can be at peace with it. I have a really cool little technique and hack that I use. And I say to myself, I'm experiencing whatever emotion and I accept it fully. A fact is a fact. That which is. I am now experiencing whatever emotion. Really, really cool technique that helps me. Cold showers. Who likes cold showers? How long do you guys last in the cold shower?
2 seconds.
3 minutes.
Same as you last in bed, right? Premature cold showerer. Awesome. So cold showers are another really great way to stimulate your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve obviously helps motivate you. I personally had a cold shower before I got here because I was shitting my pants. And yeah, it's a really good way to put you out of systemic inflammation, put you into parasympathetic, so then you're more comfortable. Intermittent fasting. Who here intermittent fasts?
So.
Awesome. Really good way, obviously, to take a break from eating. As you guys may or may not know, there's this thing called the TEF, or the thermic effect of food. When you eat food, ironically, you're actually burning energy to break down that food to have more energy. And each individual food that we consume has different TEF. So, for example, if you have a big bowl like of steak, like veggies and whatever, that's going to have a low TEF compared to, say, like a big bowl of pasta or beef stroganoff or something like that. So it's really cool if you want to look into it. Then we have massage. Definitely not the happy ending type. It's waiting for a heckler. But yeah, massage. Obviously really good. Stimulate the vagus nerve. Not Las Vegas nerve. If you want to get a happy ending in Las Vegas, you can. But yeah. Having fun, guys. Laughing. Not taking life too seriously. Just letting your hair down, talking shit with your friends for hours, taking narcotics. It's all good. Alright, this sounds like I'm your fucking parent, but like chewing your food well. A lot of people I see are on their phone or on their laptop and they're not really kind of engaging with the foods that they're eating. And a lot of mastication, not masturbation, is actually going to help release stomach acids to help digest your food better. So you don't get acid reflux. You don't get this kind of what they call GERD. Yeah, it's a fun little fact for you guys.
Good question. How do we stimulate the vagina there?
I don't doubt you asking questions like that. Find the G-spot. All right, so GLUT4. Who knows what GLUT4 is? Any of my seasoned physiology students here up the back? What's GLUT4? Tell everyone. It's the shit that the media is not telling you about what the secret of fat loss is from a medical standpoint. It's actually release of insulin. I'm sure you guys know what insulin is. What happens when we have high blood sugar levels? We release insulin from our pancreas to then help regulate our blood sugar levels, so then we're not going to obviously increase hypertension and die. That's why diabetics, whether they be non-insulin diabetic, type 1, type 2, they need sugar, or like they can't have sugar, you know? Cool. So with GLUT4 is really cool because it actually helps facilitate the uptake of your sugar into your fat and your muscle. A lot of people, in my honest opinion, are overweight and they don't have the body of their dreams, primarily due to the fact is they indulge in gluttony and greed when it comes to food. And portion control and nutrient timing is super important. Who here likes to go to buffets and eat the fuck out of the place? You see? It's a part of what they call the 7 deadly sins. 2 of the sins are that. Cool. So I won't bore you with the scientific mumbo jumbo. But as mentioned, it's delivered to your muscles through your bloodstream, down-regulates everything. And all right, let's get a show of hands who thinks sugar is actually bad for you.
Depends.
Yeah.
Sugar is actually a carbohydrate and it has different categories. Not all sugar is the same. Caster sugar, the stuff we put in our coffee and our tea, isn't the same as, say, a strawberry. It's different chemical profiles that help either affect positively our stomach or negatively. So I won't dwell too much on that. This is how you increase your GLUT4. Go to gym, pick up heavy shit, put it down again. Several times a week for several years. I'll let you guys know that this life is not glamorous as what you see on Instagram with your news feeds and all of the filters and stuff like that. There's times where you really just don't want to go. There's a yearning in you that's like, what the fuck is the point? And a lot of people, friends of mine actually, influencers, they do this for all the wrong reasons. They do it for the ego. They drive their inflated sense of belief through social media platforms to enhance their character. And I can tell you right now, most of them are just frauds. And they hate themselves. But they keep subscribing to this lifestyle. Don't get me wrong, it's positive, right? We all love looking amazing on the beach, feeling energized, optimizing our health, and being at our best. So, there we go. Okay, so a lot of things that I focus on with my clients is nutrient timing and calculating. Now, people eat at really awkward times, especially, I know for a fact when you guys go out to clubs and bars and stuff, what's available at fucking 2 a.m.? A greasy souvlaki or gyros, right? You don't really have your Tupperware with you when you go to the clubs. Being a bartender, I actually did bring my Tupperware to the clubs. It's really sad. All right, so next is portion control, meal rhythm. Eat when you're physically hungry, not psychologically. Increase your physical activity, monitor behaviors, social support, stress management.
Can you say more about physical hunger and the second one?
Portion control?
Yeah, when do you feel the physical hunger and when do you feel the...
Yep, I'll get to that. So, are you guys familiar with what they call an anabolic window? I mean, a lot of supplement companies out there will be like, oh yeah, you've got 48-hour opportunity. Otherwise, if you miss the window, you're not going to get muscle. You guys heard that one before? It's a complete crock of shit. So, basically what happens is, your main focus should be your totally daily intake of protein. Your body does not discriminate between if you eat half a chicken or half a pig's ass. Like, it doesn't know. Your body doesn't know. It can't determine what exactly it is. All it sees is protein and amino acids and the quantity of it. That's all that matters. So this anabolic window bullshit, if you've had, you know, a pre-workout meal before training and you've actually got amino acids in your blood, what's the point in having a shake after your workout if you've hit your target for the day? Do you know what I mean? So weight training alone and resistance training elevates muscle protein synthesis. So that can remain elevated for 48 hours after training to allow the spike in sensitivity. So, portion control. What do you guys think the best ratio protein, carbs, and fats is? Like, honestly.
It's more, carbs is the most important because that's what the muscles need, and then maybe like half or 1/4 of the carb, of the amount of carbs can be proteins, and fat is the least important.
Okay. So, my question to you is, what is your goal? What do you want out of fitness? Because there's a lot of things you can do. You can do resistance training, you can do calisthenics, you can do gymnastics, you can do marathon runs, you can become a football player, a basketball player. There's just a copious amount of things that you can do. So obviously I specialize in body composition and men's physique. So my ratio is 40-40-20. Mainly because the 40% of your protein is enabling you to hold on to the lean muscle mass when you train. That should be your first priority if you are weightlifting, is to hold on to the lean muscle mass. Studies actually show that the more lean muscle mass you hold on to, you burn a lot more fat at rest without actually doing anything because your metabolism's spiked. So with carbs, we use carbs for energy. Carbs are basically, should be the primary energy source. Hello, question?
What do you think should be the correct amount of protein to take in per day?
Yeah.
People say it's 1 gram per pound body weight.
So I use the metric system from Australia, but it's about 1.5 grams to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. That's rule of thumb. But obviously, depending on your training split and how intense you've been working out, you might need a lot more protein.
Yeah, this 40-40-20 is 40% of the total calories.
So 40% protein, 40% carbs, 20% protein.
Grams, calories.
So that's completely subjective on the individual. You can't paint everyone with the same brush.
No, well, 40% of what?
Total calories.
Of your total calories, yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, as everyone knows, we tend to cling towards like labels and things to rationalize and make us understand clearly. So we have these things called fad diets, and a lot of them do work for some people, and I won't discredit that. They are great tools to get people to where they want to be. But in terms of like definitive and sustainable long-term results, in my honest opinion, I think they're shit. My biggest thing that I encourage people to focus on is this thing right here. If you want to lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. There's no way about it. Like, there's irrefutable. If you're not in a calorie deficit, your body's going to hold on to whatever you've spilled over with. It's only natural. So that's why exercise is important, because it puts us into a calorie deficit. So what's everyone's opinion on, does anyone want to challenge me on my theory?
No, I don't want to challenge you. I'm not a nutritionist. I would just like to recommend to everyone to really give keto a shot. Like the amount of clarity I receive by having bulletproof coffee in the morning, which I'm utterly addicted to. It's really something I have not achieved with intermittent fasting or calorie deficit or anything like that, right? So it's just different things for different purposes.
Of course, different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
And are you happy with what you have at the moment?
I don't use it for weight loss. I use it for getting ready for my day, and for that, it's absolutely amazing. Yeah.
There you go. See, I won't discredit that. But with what I specialize in is body composition and looking your best and having a low body fat and holding on to lean muscle. So I really endorse calorie deficit. See, I'm not bashing any fad diets. I do think they work for the right reasons, but yeah, in terms of what's relevant to me, this works. Another one. Who likes to just eat because it's fun and you have this habit of eating and just like snacks, or what they call a snackcident? Well, I'm here to tell you there's two types. There's psychological and there's physical hunger. Physical hunger is where you're actually starving yourself. You're going out of burning fat to burning carbs, and then you run out of carbs, and potentially if you're in like a third world country or something, you'll start to burn protein as a primary energy source. So that's what they call physical starvation. Then we have psychological starvation, which is where we convince ourselves that we need to have this. And that can be due to smelling something, like if you walk into a supermarket and you see the freshly baked cookies and you smell them and it's just like sex. Honestly, like, supermarkets strategically place bread at the entrance because they know that this shit is addictive. Don't be fooled. So, yeah, you eat it mainly because it's fun. Simple. So I now want to delve a little deeper into gut health and what they call microbiome, which is like our gut flora. So we have small intestines and they have these things, like these little finger-like things called microvilli, and basically they absorb all of the broken down materials from your stomach where they need to go. But as mentioned previously, that the foods that you choose to eat actually alter your microbiome, which will actually alter the amount of foods that you are absorbing. Instead, you'll just like shit and piss it out. Seems like a waste of time and money, doesn't it? Good. So, does anyone know what the importance of vitamins and minerals is?
Like we talked about carbs, proteins, and fats, but that's like very rough, and it needs to be transported into the right parts of the body, and they need to be the craftspeople, the workers in the body who transport it where it belongs, and that's the role of these vitamins and the other stuff.
So vitamins and minerals are basically just nutrition to help us prevent us from like getting sick and having a low immunity. Also, to help protect us from like diseases and like other harmful bacteria. So, immunity, providing a physical barrier to invasive microbiome, and our gut flora is enhanced functionally. So, a study in 2009 by Dr. I can't pronounce the name, discovered gut bacteria differs from healthy people to obese people. So they actually pulled out someone's stomach of a healthy person and they put it next to someone who was healthy, and they analyzed and they saw that there's a vast difference in how much nutrients these people are absorbing and compared to those who don't eat well. Who's hungry for a kebab now? And also, there was also a study linked with how autism is and decreased gut bacteria are linked together. I think it's pretty like out there, but you do your research. I mean, I think there was a study as well with getting vaccinations and how that's linked with autism. Yeah, doctors can be pretty fucking crazy sometimes. So, let's look at practical ways to improve our gut health. Who wants to improve their gut health? Show or raise your hands. So, these things here, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but they are nootropics. They're a form of supplement, but they're the kind of hush-hush supplement that no one really talks about because, let's face it, society doesn't want you to win. They just want to keep selling you shit and selling you lies. But stuff like this is actually, there's a thing called metformin. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but diabetic patients take metformin as a way of helping regulate their blood sugar levels to then help achieve their fat loss outcomes. Berberine works kind of in a similar way. It's a supplement and it helps with getting you out of systemic inflammation and improving your intestinal health and therefore improving your headspace. Really, really good stuff. Obviously, healing pathway, increases your insulin sensitivity, lowers your blood sugar levels, and also prevents parasites and stuff like that. Taking that in conjunction with this thing called chromium picolinate is also a way of regulating insulin even further to improve your fat loss and stuff like that. Coming back to like getting good sleep and good quality sleep and how important it is. Melatonin, I have it pretty much every night. It puts you into a lucid state. And obviously if it's like winter, some people from Scandinavia who they have 3 months of darkness a year would really benefit from shit like this. Because having sunlight actually increases your melatonin. And yeah, so GABA, not sure if you guys know what it is. It's one of the top 4 neurotransmitters in your brain. Helps actually, when you're in a relaxed state, you actually increase your testosterone. As talking about coffee before, this is your godsend. It's called theacrine. Basically, when you have too much caffeine, you release this thing called catamines. It's just a fancy word of saying like excess amounts of adrenaline going through your body, which can actually really be toxic for you in the long term. We have all those like really bad crashes. Whereas this is a structurally modified alkaloid of caffeine. It's kind of in the same family, but it enhances your flow state, you could say.
One question.
Hello.
These are all supplements, or are they like fruit or natural things that they are actually in?
So they're kind of like, I wouldn't say the black market, but they're nootropics. So they're basically created by like a band of scientists who want to be a bit rebellious and escape the commercial side of supplements and actually find shit to enhance like CEOs and directors' cognitive behaviors, and so obviously they can make more money. That's pretty much the purpose behind nootropics.
So where do you get them from?
Well, they're available commercially, it's just they're not really kind of discussed. You can obviously online shops and stuff like that. There's one I use called iHerb, really good. Questions?
Yeah, do you take all of these every day?
So not every day, depending on like what I want to achieve. Like if I'm cutting down for say like a photo shoot or a competition or something like that, I will use berberine because like it helps with the fat loss outcomes and keeps me like pretty relaxed with my inflammation.
Is it popular among college market, the supplements market?
I wouldn't have a clue, buddy. I've been here like less than a week.
It's all prescription.
It's all prescription?
It's prescription.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Maybe I just would like to add, because, so this is a very specific kind of supplements. It's not taking multivitamins.
Mm-hmm.
And on those and the bigger, large family of nootropics, I would highly recommend, and I'm sure you would agree, that each one of you motherfuckers do careful research if it's really for you, right? Because
of course. This is obviously stuff that I do. A disclaimer, like I don't encourage each and every single one of you to do exactly what I do. This is just me kind of sharing what I do and what works for me. And I do obviously closely audit a lot of my clients and go through their background and their medical history and have like all this, legal saving my ass. Yeah, so obviously I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor. This is just stuff that I'm sharing with you guys because I think it can help you.
Do you know if there's anything true about if you take too much pills, capsules in general, it's hard on your stomach?
Of course. Absolutely. So obviously anything in excess is going to cause potential toxicity. Like back home, my housemate, she got obsessed with fitness, and it's quite funny. You know those retirement homes, how they have like Monday to Sunday of pills? She's like 25 and she has this. She looks like she's an AIDS victim, you know, like on pills.
I mean, just the physical, like if you have the option of like powder, pill, right? I usually take the powder because I heard that it's not good if you take pills because the pill itself is hard on the stomach because of the digestion. I don't know.
Man, it's going to be the chemicals.
Obviously, it just comes back to having everything in moderation, not being an idiot. Like reading take 1 or 2 daily, don't exceed that. You know, like it's like Panadol or paracetamol. People can overdose on that shit. It's down to personal responsibility, really.
You don't seem much fan of coffee. What about tea?
I'm having some herbal tea at the moment.
Okay.
Some green tea, thanks to my man Nils here.
Just another. There are some digestive enzymes which are added to some high quality supplements. If you buy, let's say, informed whey or stuff like that, they add digestive enzymes. I don't know other people, but for me, it makes like a full difference, like how I feel internally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It really just kind of gives you that extra 5 to 10% that you need as a boost to do shit that you would normally do, you know? Question?
GABA is a certain type of omega-6, right? Or is that a different thing you're talking about?
GABA is a neurotransmitter in your brain. It's a part of the big four, so your dopamine, your serotonin, your acetylcholine, and your GABA. Question?
I read a book called The Optimized Solution Maybe Ignoring. Let's say like most of us we lack most of vitamin and it was selling in the book, it was saying in the book that we have to take a lot of things and etc. How do you know that this kind of mix you have to take and what are your references to this one?
So what was the last thing you said? I got everything.
How do you know that you have to take these ones? Like a lot of people will say you have to supplement a lot of things.
Of course.
How do you know which one you have to take?
Well, it comes down to your personal goals and what you want out of what you're taking, and being very clear on what you want. Obviously, there's no definitive answer how much we're supposed to take, what we're supposed to take. It's literally just like we use ourselves as guinea pigs, and it's like a trial and error. We just test it out and see if it does enhance our lives, or if it has adverse side effects, then back to the drawing board, try something else. So I know there's just different measurements of the truth out there, and this is my truth that I'm obviously sharing with you today. You can choose to use it as gospel, or you can just be like, this guy's an idiot, I don't want to listen to him. So it's ultimately up to you.
I'm just curious, what's your opinion on things like juicing and plant-based proteins?
Juicing as in like
juice fasting and stuff like that.
Okay. So juicing, I'm not sure if you guys have the documentary Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead.
I see it.
Yeah. This guy travels across America with his like juice craze, where he just juices for 30 to 60 days. That's all he has. It's basically kind of veganism, but in liquid form. And he achieved some pretty crazy, outcomes. And the reason being is because he's no longer at, a truck stop having a meat pie, or, drinking the chocolate milk and sitting sedentary whilst driving across the states of America, for 12 hours a day and not sleeping, Whereas now he's having juice, and this stuff is basically healing him. It's saving his life, essentially. Sure, it's not solid food, but it's still enriched with nutrients, vitamins and minerals, enhancing his immunity. It makes sense that it's going to help. But obviously it's not a sustainable long-term thing, because we still need a lot of protein and stuff like that. So there'll be other deficits, like for example, veganism is linked with iron deficiency and vitamin B12 deficiency. Yeah, so anything in excess is not going to be good for you long term. Just try it out in moderation.
Yeah, sorry, what do you think of like DMH and NAC and supplements like this that's recommended to take while you're drinking? And do you know of any other supplements that are beneficial to, kind of help your liver and stuff like this?
Once again, I'm not a doctor. I have a lot of mentors who are doctors, and they kind of share this wisdom with me. Like I'm not qualified. I'm not in a position of authority to talk about NAC with utmost conviction. I'd be lying to you if I was. But yeah, I suggest you just consult a professional. Sorry, I can't answer your question. Okay. Anyone else? Cool. Yeah.
I have one question about regarding the trainings. So, what is the most optimal number of trainings per week?
Again, like completely subjective, whatever your goal is. But personally, for me, okay, so 3 to 4 times a week, and cycling intensity with volume as like a training principle, and fluctuating your frequency based on if you're hitting a plateau or something like that. Cool. Can we move on?
What happens when you meet a plateau?
We'll get to that. People are getting bored. All right. So why are neurotransmitters imbalances important for the body and the mind? So as mentioned before, that your gut health is actually linked in with your hormone profile as well as your mind. So having neurotransmitters that are balanced actually prevent most of this stuff from happening, like your chronic stress. So you're less likely to be in that exhaustive phase, as mentioned before with the GAS. You're more likely to make better decisions based on your health because you're in more of a positive mindset. You're going to make those, it comes back to the beliefs and the mindset wealth model. Environmental toxins, stuff obviously that we can't control, food poisoning. Alcohol, obviously we can control alcohol, but some people don't like to control their alcohol. Caffeine, another way of, having too much is bad, but it can also help and enhance you. And then recreational drugs. It's not bad to dabble in recreational drugs. I think like experimenting is okay, but there's studies that show there are addictions and it can lead to obsessing over. So, I'm not going to be a prude or a narc, but yeah. So, awesome. Okay, so if my eyesight does me justice, serotonin is the happiness molecule. It's actually linked in with, increasing our positive moods and like giving us like the positive emotions of euphoria and stuff like that. Really, really important. You get it from having sex, training at the gym, eating right, seeing cute shit. We do stuff specifically to increase our happiness. The next one is dopamine. So when people say I'm a stoner and I like smoking dope, it's actually kind of ironic and pretty inaccurate because dopamine is actually a motivation molecule, whereas stoners just want to sit there and binge and have munchies. So pretty much drives and obviously helps you focus and concentrate. Taking stuff like, I don't condone it, but taking stuff like Adderall to help you study. 10 minutes, cool. Taking stuff like Adderall obviously helps you study and focus and stuff like that. A lot of bad side effects, but it gets the job done. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that helps you with your memory and learning. Improving your acetylcholine has been linked to decrease your chances of developing Alzheimer's and even dementia, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, most of the time you can get the derivative effects of these neurotransmitters by having a enriched protein, somewhat also a dairy diet. GABA, which is what they call nature's Valium, pretty much like keeping you like calm, cool, calm and collected, you know, that sort of stuff. So all of them help with happiness, motivation, memory and relaxation. So this is a bit more about me. As you can see, that's me on the left and that's me on the right. There's about 4 or 5 different years in between the two photos. This is probably when I've looked my best in my life. I've really dialed in my nutrition, my sleep, my training, and yeah, I kind of want to go through a bit of my background in the space of 10 minutes. So the truth is, I want to ask you something. Have you ever had a goal in mind and a vision of how you like to be seen? Do you continue to binge, skip gym sessions? Are you frustrated with the results you look at when you're in the mirror? Maybe you don't know what foods to eat or how much food you should eat and when. Perhaps you've struggled with sugar or caffeine or drugs, and you've had the crash diets, and obviously you left thinking why aren't I getting to where I want to be. So obviously, like, trying to find something that's a bit more, you know, tightening the screws and a plan that actually works. So here's the thing, I'm here to tell you, I've actually been there before. I know what it feels like. It's shit. You think that having your protein shake after you work out is going to get you to where you want to be. Having the mass gainers are a really awesome way to like get in shape, just like all, you know, Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler and stuff like that. But basically I'm going to reveal to you a proven method so how you can go from average to athlete. And pretty much I've been working with hundreds of clients, both in person and online, to obviously make these things a reality. So do you guys want to hear it? Yeah. Sweet. So I think I skipped something. Nope. So I was raised in a little place called Cranbourne in Melbourne, Australia. My parents never really focused on fitness and health and stuff like that. Mum worked in a pharmacy and Dad was a sales rep. Mum was pretty good with feeding me veggies when I was young. And also she didn't like baby formula or like powdered milk. She was very holistic. So I never really ate for any performance or anything. I was always been kind of skinny and ectomorphic. And yeah, now I hear kind of the same sort of questions, like a cacophony of sound that I was telling myself 4 to 5 years ago of I don't know how much to eat and when, I don't know how to cook, or I don't have time to cook, still confused about diet, nutrition. You know, hope this is pretty much like what I hear from everyone on a day-to-day basis when they want to find out about the lifestyle. But this is me when I was 18. I was like going out and trying to get girls and stuff like that. Just soak in that picture. I did everything, guys. I smoked, I drank, I took recreational drugs, you know, unprotected sex. That was pretty much me at 18. But I was unhappy, you know, I wasn't like living up to my full potential. And there was a part of me that wasn't proud of what I had in life, and I knew I had to change something. And basically, when I was in Neurological, which is a suburb in Melbourne, Anytime Fitness opened up in 2011, and I saw this as like my big break, like my big opportunity to kind of like start lifting. So I didn't have a single bloody clue of what I was doing. I was like throwing the weights around like a spastic. And I was looking at all the other people in there who were far more experienced. And I was like, I want to be like those people. You know, I was kind of like driven and motivated to like try and learn from them and sponge their information so then I could be there someday. I then went to my dad. My dad's like pretty experienced in the gym, but he's like one of those like typical kind of bogan dads who just gives you like bro science. And he's kind of like, yeah man, just like go in there and pick it up, put it down, and then grunt some more, and then you'll get there. You just gotta like smash down a VB as a pre-workout, and then Victoria Bitter, which is a beer. And yeah, just like work out. But then my dad wasn't completely useless. He actually gave me some really good advice here, which is this quote that resonates with me to this day, which is, son, it's not about how heavy the weight you do, it's about the weight that your muscles trained do. Dad didn't finish year 10, so I love him. Basically he was saying in like layman's, no more ego lifting. So I knew that what my dad told me was limiting, and I needed to thirst for more information because I wanted to get to an elite status when it comes to training and nutrition. So I then enrolled into university and I started doing a health science degree, and it was I got into anatomy and physiology as a major, and I did kind of well, surprisingly, from someone who stayed down in grade 3 and was considered to have a learning difficulty with autism and Asperger's, and said that you're unable to put a square peg in a round hole. I then proved myself wrong and got into a course that was really a part of me, in alignment with what I wanted. And I did nutrition and psychology units in the degree as well, but it was only like little bits. But it was enough to make me kind of create this kind of program, enough information to create my, what they call the Spartan method. And the best part about it is that you can do it at home or you can do it at the gym. And after neglecting everything for so long, I really just like honed in and focused on not only my studies but also my body. So obviously, as mentioned before, these are fad diets, and I was experimenting with a lot of them and just trialing and testing them to see if they were what I wanted and if they gave me the creative outcome that I desired. It was a complete failure. In terms of like staying in this lifestyle consistently for years, you do need to find different strategies along the way. And the biggest one that I found that I could stick to the most was this thing here, carb cycling. Basically what happens is you have high carbs, high days when you're doing your heavy volume weights, and then you have a low amount of carbs on the days you're resting, which you're basically leveraging the carbs for energy when you need it. So it makes sense. So basically, like I could stick to that, you know. I was never hungry and I was still looking lean because I was having what they call the high GI carbs after the workout. So I was having, believe it or not, gummy bears post-workout. Gummy bears helped me heal my muscles. I had lack of what they call delayed onset of muscle soreness. Really, really cool when you can eat gummy bears and look good. So I owe a lot to my mentors and people who are much wiser than me. And they essentially helped with my own beliefs. They helped with my intrinsic motivation. You know, they helped with increasing my dopamine. And yeah, it's hard to fall off the wagon when you find something that really clicks. So basically, shameless plug, I do online coaching. And I find that coaching people online is a really effective way. Having sampled out personal training and seeing the the repercussions of it and like how it's run like a business, I was turned off by it. And I think that online coaching is a great way, with social media the way it is nowadays, and email and Skype, we can really kind of like change the world and connect more. So I offer a 12-week body transformation program. Basically, it's a 90-day challenge. It's not like your typical run-of-the-mill program. It's something that I'm actually really passionate about, and I have tried and tested myself. And I think that building an online community of guys who want to accomplish great results and take ownership with their fitness is like, it's pretty awesome. So I guess like I won't slam you guys with any form of like sales and subliminal messages and stuff like that. But if you really want to achieve these dot points here, which is stuff that I set out to accomplish, lose weight, tone your body, increase your energy, join a community, eat foods that you love whilst not starving yourself, train with correct form to reduce injury and illness, and get stronger, leaner, grow more, here's what you need to know. So here, my 12-week program is like everything that's involved with it. Like I said, I'm not going to like slam it down your throat. I'm not a pushy salesman. I rely on substance and screening for the right people who actually want to take ownership with their fitness and be serious about it. And I only take on about 15 to 20 clients at a time over the space of 3 months. So if you guys are interested and want to find out more, you know where to find me. But I will leave you with a few more shameless plugs. Here's my free group that I have on Facebook, where there's a community of guys who like to share ideas about similar stuff that we chatted about today. And yeah, it would be really cool if you can join it. And here's my personal Instagram. At the moment, I'm trying to obviously get involved with a digital nomad lifestyle. I don't actually have a physical home. I've left everything behind in Australia, and I'm traveling the world and enhancing myself and becoming a better version of myself on the day-to-day. So if you're interested to see what I'm getting up to in the socials, please hit me up.
One question.
Sorry guys, we are really off time, so I have to do that. Sorry for that.
That's fine, I'm finished. Thank you so much for your time.